Hari Om. Let us now pick up the thread from where we left in the last class, the last capsule, and take our study forward. In the 13th verse, towards the end of the 13th verse, Poojya Swamiji said, because a wise person has the knowledge of Atma and Anatma, there is no question of he or she being sorrowful. Such a person knows that what does not change cannot be changed, and what changes cannot be stopped. When the facts are clear, there is no sorrow. The wise person is one who knows what is real, the Atma, and what is unreal, the Anatma. Krishna is now going to give us some very practical facts about Anatma. Here is what Lord Krishna has to say. This is an oft quoted verse and a favorite of our dear Swami Paramarthananda. Verse 14, chapter 2. Matra sparshastu kaunteya शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्याः तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, matra sparshaha, the contacts of the sense organs with the sensory world, tu, indeed, si shita ushna sukha dukkhadaha, which give rise to cold and heat, pleasure and pain. Agama apayinaha, which have the nature of coming and going. Anityaha, not constant. Bharata, O descendant of Bharata, Arjuna, Tan, them, titikshasva, endure. Very important. We just went through the portion in which Poojya Swamiji said it is important to know the nature of Anatma, both the nature of Anatma and the nature of Atma. A wise person knows both. So we must know the nature of Anatma clearly. This verse is one such verse. Kaunteya, Arjuna, the contacts of the sense organs with the sensory world, which give rise to cold and heat, pleasure and pain, which have the nature of coming and going, are not constant. Endure them. Bharata, Arjuna. Given that the Atma never dies, that it always survives. As Krishna said, it seems that the sorrow caused by the death of a person is not reasonable and therefore not very legitimate. That there may be no sorrow for the person who knows the Atma to be eternal and the Anatma to be non eternal is also possible. However, in this life, sorrow does occur because of certain changes that take place. Situations do not go your way all the time. You do not call all the shots. Things keep changing, some of them favorably, and many of them not so favorably. Some situations are pleasant, others unpleasant. That which is pleasant does not last, while the unpleasant seems to stick to you most of the time. Therefore, there is both pleasure, sukha, and pain, dukkha. The pleasant arrives and must pass away for the unpleasant to come. In other words, neither the pleasant nor the unpleasant are permanent, they are temporary. For instance, people begin to wail about winter long before it actually comes. As the summer ebbs away, they wail about that too. Even when summer is there, it is going. Thus, when winter is not there, it is coming, and when it is there, it seems not to be going at all. Half the summer is gone because of clouds, and another part of it is frittered away by rain. When it is hot, it is too hot. Because the seasons keep on changing, we find that sukha and dukkha keep on occurring. The pleasant has gone and the unpleasant has come, accompanied by sorrow. The sorrow is not due to Atma going and coming, but purely because of the situational contact and so on. So, will there not be a legitimate sorrow? Krishna talked here about the nature of the sense organs and the sensory world. The sense organs, matras, contact the sense objects. And these contacts, sparshaha, give you the experience of cold, heat, pleasure, pain, etc. Shita, ushna, sukha, dukkhadaha. The knowledge that something is cold or hot produces a response. This is pleasant, sukha, or this is unpleasant, dukkha. Cold can be either pleasant or unpleasant, and so can anything hot. For instance, you do not go to the fireside on a hot day, isn't it? as you would when it is cold. Thus, heat is not always pleasant and cold is not always unpleasant. We find that there is uniformity in our responses and also to a certain extent universality. The world is one of opposites like even heat and cold that give us sukha and dukkha, pleasure and pain. Categorically, we may say that certain situations make us happy, like a pleasant sunny day. At the same time, however, there are people who want rain so much that they are praying for it. Therefore, the rain that you do not want, someone else may be praying for. These, then, are our responses that seem to give rise to sukha and dukkha, all due to contact of the sense organs with their objects. One may argue that if contacting heat and cold gives rise to sorrow, perhaps we should avoid contact with sense objects. But how can we? Krishna did not say we have to avoid the contacts. We need only to understand them. Most of our problems are like this. They only need to be understood. What is to be understood here is the tendency to come and go is the nature of opposites. Heat and cold, pleasant and unpleasant, and so on. If you keep on saying it is hot, a time will come when the heat will be gone. It is the same with the cold. Therefore, they are not constant. They do not remain for you to complain about. Even if you want them to stay, they will not. They will not. They are always in a flux. Always in a flux. Constantly changing. And this nature of their being in constant flux does not change. What is one's nature, or what is natural, can never change, can never be changed. You cannot totally remove yourself from the opposites or remove them from you. This is not to say that you should not make an attempt to improve the situation. But if things must always be pleasant for you, Lord Krishna was making it very clear here that they would not be. Because things are both pleasant and unpleasant, they are not always going to be as you want, nor are they always going to be unpleasant either. If death is said to be capable of causing you sorrow, Where does that leave all of the other situations that seem to make you unhappy? The world can cause you some physical pain because the physical body belongs to the physical world. One physical entity can, therefore, hurt another. Arjuna's problem is not physical. We must keep this in mind. It is purely sorrow, shoka. And shoka is a type of thinking. Shoka is a type of thinking. While physical pain is something to be endured and cured, sorrow is something you build on. Sorrow is something you build on. Physical pain is not something that is totally avoidable. The body is subject to pain and will be affected by one force or the other, such as the sun, rain, winter, and so on. You can protect the body to the extent possible, but because it is anitya, constantly changing, it is subject to pain. This is the nature of the body. Sorrow, on the other hand, is something you build on to the pain because of a particular way of thinking. Because of a particular way of thinking. This is exactly where we have to change cognitively. Cognitively. A favorite expression of Poojya Swamiji. Therefore, Krishna said, take every situation as it comes. Arjuna, cheerfully, in your stride, with a sense of humor. Very profound advice, but very, very difficult to implement, isn't it? But try. It is possible. By and by, we can make it a habit, a positive habit. Later, Krishna told Arjuna how these opposites cannot really do anything to you because by nature they have no independent existence apart from yourself, the Atma. There is some kind of lumping that occurs due to confusion between orders of reality. Another favorite topic of Pujya Swamiji. The mind, senses, and body have similar realities, whereas the Atma is of another order of reality. When you say you are sad, you involve the Atma, I, in the sadness as though the Atma belongs to the same order of reality as the mind, which it does not. In the same way, Atma is taken to be Anatma and it becomes one among the many. Because Anatmas in the world are too many and so varied, you cannot cope with them all, even though they are all Anatma. Even the small bugs create so many problems, let alone the more powerful forces. If Atma is really one among the many, nothing can be done. However, the vision is that Atma is unlike any of them. Sorrow is not possible without Atma, I. Every time there is sorrow, it is because Atma is somehow involved. Mere mind with its thought processes cannot create sorrow. Therefore, ignorance is the cause for imputing sorrow to Atma. The coming and going of the opposites is a fact. Thus, when Krishna told Arjuna, endure them, titikshasva, titikshasva, he was not offering advice, he was being objective, very practical, down to earth. What is the need for this objectivity? Is the question. There is a need because situations are constantly changing, the pleasant as well as the unpleasant. To think that only the pleasant ones change and not the unpleasant is not correct. What then is there to worry about? For a person who is objective, who has an appreciation for what the world and its situations are all about, there is no reason for sorrow. There are just situations to face and act upon, whether inner or outer. There is nothing to be sad about. Let us pick up the thread of this wonderful teaching in the capsules to follow and take our journey forward in the study of Shrimad Bhagawad Geetha. Hari Om. Om Durjana Sajjano Bhuyad Sajjana Shantimapnuyad Shanto Muccheta Bandhebhyah Muktaschanyan Vimochayet Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.